howdy all. Welcome back to Simply Savvy Life. And pardon, I am in like total homely form today. I ran out to do some deliveries. And I normally don't listen to a lot of radio, especially not NPR public liberal radio. Anyways, I flipped on Michigan Public Radio today, and one of the pieces they were doing was about VA cuts, the Veterans Affairs cuts, federal spending cuts as part of the larger budget cuts that have been happening lately. And what really bothered me about this piece, and I know this is kind of a niche topic, but it just drove me crazy. I had to say something about it. The whole thing was focused on interviewing people receiving services who are afraid that their services are going to be cut, even though they haven't been cut and they're not being proposed to be cut. So what I'm talking about is, for example, cutting DEI stuff in terms of employment in the VA, right? Which means not hiring people to provide services based on their gender, but based on their ability to provide the services. So the first person they interviewed was a veteran, a female veteran, who had experienced sexual assault from a fellow service member, and she receives counseling or other healthcare services through the VA and prefers to have a female provider. She doesn't want a man touching her. She doesn't want a man doing her counseling. Okay, these are not the kinds of things that are proposed being cut. They went on to talk about how people are changing their gender status and stuff like that in their medical charts because they fear that their services are going to be cut. Okay, but then they go on to say, quick disclaimer, those services aren't being cut and they haven't been proposed to be cut. But we're going to go back to talking about all these people's fears about what could happen to them because, it's like, if I'm transgender, I won't be able to have a job anymore. I'm going to be kicked out of the country or something and all this stuff. None of that is being proposed. I'm not a Trump fan either. Let's just make that clear. I'm not a fan of either side. I'm not a fan of right or left, red or blue. I don't like any of this shit. I have my own different perspective on all of that. So I'm not taking sides here. I'm not trying to promote Trump or support him. But in this article that they talked about on the radio, interviewing these people, pulling on heartstrings with all their fears and, oh, I'm so afraid that, I need to have a female counselor, but they're going to cut that, or I've got to change everything in my chart and not say that I'm gay or whatever because they're going to cut my services. And they pop in with a quick disclaimer saying none of that is happening and we're not proposing that that's going to happen. But then they focus the entire segment on all of these people's fears that are apparently unfounded, like even by the news station's own disclaimers saying that's not what they're doing. They haven't done it. They're not going to do it. They're saying they're not going to do it. But then just totally focusing on this fear-mongering of, I'm afraid my services are going to get cut because I'm a female or I'm a gay or, oh my God, you guys, it's like just so total fear-mongering. There are other articles and segments that actually cover some really interesting data about so many topics. But you have to be discerning. And this one just really ground my gears, because they're going to provide that, but they will hire those candidates based on their qualifications. Can you see the difference here of what I'm talking about? So I'm just a critical, objective thinker who noticed the insanity of this particular segment and how nothing they talked about actually covered the facts of the matter. They didn't say what's being cut, what departments, is it paper pushers, is it what, why, and their reasoning for it or anything like that, freaking out about how they think their services will no longer be provided because of these cuts. And so yeah, I just wanted to call out Michigan Public Radio for doing more bias than usual, over the top. Why don't you cover what is actually happening instead of fear mongering and just pushing your agenda? Love you all, hope you're doing well, and take care.